Once again, it's on. You know what time it is. It's time to play some toss. Welcome, everyone, to episode 86 of the Tristain Sports Show Toss. It is your main man, T-Squared, Tristain Thomas. Thank you all so very much for joining us this week. What do we have on tap? We have instant reaction from Bucks Nets Game 5, pivotal Game 5. Who won, who lost? Looks like I got to show some tough love. The Green Bay Packers, still not very much news, but some subtle shots fired from both sides of the people who have beef. And then the toss sweep, we've got to give an update on where the playoff series stand around the league. Give you an update, see how we're doing on the predictions. But you all know how we get things started. We get things started with the state of the state, and let's get to that instant reaction that I mentioned before with those Milwaukee Bucks as they lose a pivotal Game 5. Now, you're going to have a lot of people who are in post-game right now, and they have their programs as we record this program on a Tuesday night. Again, really right after the ball game, and I had to take a couple of minutes to collect my thoughts and see what I'm going to say about it. It's always going to be truthful, opinionated, and passionate here on Toss. I'm not going to do you all a disservice by being hot takey and a prisoner of the moment, but I am going to talk about what I saw, and I am going to talk about the damage that it does long term. The Bucks lost this game, 114 to 108. First of all, we need to get a round of applause and much respect to Kevin Durant. Playoff triple-double. 49 points, 17 rebounds, 10 assists. He played every single minute of the game, 48 minutes. The man is one of the best players in the world. And he's constantly disrespected. And then he shows up again like this, and he gives his team everything of himself to go and get this lead, this series lead. Missing Kyrie. He gets Jeff Green back, who went off himself, hit like 6 or 7 threes tonight. Ridiculous. Gets James Harden back, but James Harden is not himself. He had an awful game, probably one of the worst of his entire career. Coming back off of that hamstring strain, you can tell that he's still not 100%. But you have to take advantage of situations like this. They're without Kyrie Irving. They will probably be without him for the rest of the series, the way he turned that ankle in Game 4. Which the Bucks won. Bucks really came out on fire, started off 12-2 lead. They stretched that lead out to as much as 17 points in the third quarter. And then the Nets went to work. They started scoring on just about every single possession. The Bucks stopped scoring on every single possession because they decided to go back to games 1, 2, and 3 level offense with a bunch of ISO-heavy garbage that just does not work. Failing to take advantage of mismatches. Failing to put Giannis in the post, which is something that had brought a lot of success for you. Failed to move the ball around, which has brought a lot of success for you and a lot of open shots. Failed to use Brook Lopez effectively. Clogged the lane. Had everybody standing around watching in that second half when you were moving the ball around. So for 2.5 games, this is what worked for you. This is what got you back into the series and squared away at 2 apiece after Game 4 this past Sunday. And you did it for the first half and even for a little bit into the third quarter. So 2+ games, this has worked for you. And you absolutely shut it down on Twitter. And you can go and follow me at the20double. That's at the number 2, the number 0, and the word double. I mentioned that this was just a disgusting display of basketball malpractice by the Milwaukee Bucks. Charles Barkley has even said it, and I've said it right here on this program. The Bucks fail to take advantage of mismatches. Why would you not put Giannis and Brook more in the post? Nobody's holding them, especially Giannis. Why do you not continue to let Jrue Holiday initiate the offense? Why do you consistently go to this ISO heavy garbage that just does not work when the players on this team need to be in an offense that is moving, that is free flowing, that has the ball being passed around, everybody getting a touch, and you getting open for the best shot as a result? This is not only basketball malpractice by the players on that court. This is basketball malpractice by Mike Budenholzer, head coach for the Milwaukee Bucks. Because as a head coach, you have to take note on what is working and what has not worked. And we have seen the extremes of what has worked and hasn't. In games 1 and 2, you went ISO heavy. It did not work. It was a closer game in game 1, but you still got beat. In game 2, wasn't even close. You were down by as many as 49 points. Games 3 and 4. Yes, game 3 was just an atrocious offensive game by everyone. You just couldn't make any shots. The defense ratcheted up. It was one of those old school type playoff games, but it was far less ISO heavy. Giannis was playing far more in the post. The ball was moving far more than it had in games 1 and 2. And you pulled that game out with some gritty defense. Game 4. Boat raced. Wasn't even close. Nets did not stand a chance. You blew the barn doors off of them because you did what you did in game 3 and game 4, and it worked for you. You stayed away from what you did in games 1 and 2. You have seen the extremes of what ISO heavy offense does and what a free-flowing, put Giannis in the post, put Brook in the post, get these guys open for better shots when the defense sucks in, does for you. And you started doing that in game 5 for the first 2+ quarters. And then you stop it. Your job as the head coach is to coach. That is your very job description. It is to coach. It is not to wait until after the game to make adjustments. You need to be having the wheels turned in the game and make those adjustments during the game. If you see the guys going off the rail, if you see this offense and this defense going off the rails, you snap them back onto the rails and say, hey, this is how we're going to win. This is how we have won. We need to stick with this game plan because it has worked. It's one thing if it's not working, which is exactly what ISO heavy basketball does. It does not work for this team, and especially against this opponent. It does not work. You've seen the extremes of it not working. It is your job to get this back on track. Mike Budenholzer has failed to do that. It is the player's job, if the coaching staff won't do it, to police themselves and say, hey, we're not doing what we were doing when we were successful. We have to get back to doing that. Because what we're doing right now is going to get us beat. You have to have that self-awareness of yourself and hold each other accountable. Especially if the coach is not going to do it. And we have seen that. This was basketball malpractice from the top to the bottom. It starts with the head coach, trickles down to the players. You knew Kevin Durant was going to get his. You succeeded that at the beginning of this series. There was nobody that was going to be able to, there was nobody that was really going to be able to stop him. He is just that lethal of a scorer. But could you try to put Giannis on him? Because I didn't see that at all. You're a former defensive player of the year. A guy who was named first team all defense just yesterday. Along with Jrue Holiday. and you don't put him on a guy who's having an all-time great playoff game to just at least slow him down and give your team a shot. And I'm sorry, if I'm Giannis, I'm bringing that same I will F you up attitude to Mike Budenholzer, say I'm guarding Durant. Because we need somebody to check him. We need somebody to at least give an effort to slow him down because everyone else is a mismatch. I'm the one. But I don't want to speak for Giannis. I'm not him. But I just know what I would do as a competitor if I brought that same skill set to the table that Giannis does. I know what I would do. If I'm really concerned about getting better as a team and growing and getting into good habits and getting rid of the bad habits, then I'm going to be self-aware of myself and not just blindly go along with everything the coach says. Because it is truly a collaborative effort. Coach is going to install the game plan, but when you're out there playing, coach is not on the floor. You may be seeing and feeling different things that he may not be. You're seeing things from a perspective and going through things through a perspective that he is not. And you have to bring that to him and say, hey, can we try to do this because this, and this? And it just seems that this team does not have that. And this isn't being prisoner of the moment. This isn't being emotional. At this point, you're pretty numb to the playoff pain. You just kind of grow to expect it. When you're a Wisconsin sports fan, and I know some people out there are snickering and laughing, oh, you guys got the Packers, you got 13 world championships. They've had their failures in the playoffs. Check the last 2 NFC championship games. Brewers win an NLCS Game 7 not that long ago. Bucks were in the Eastern Conference Finals just 2 seasons ago. We know playoff pain here. We've seen the extremes of what works and what doesn't work. We've seen 2 games of ISO-heavy basketball, 2.5 now because pretty much halfway through the third quarter and all the fourth quarter, that's all that was played. It has been proven. This isn't an opinion. This is on tape because the tape don't lie. It is proven not to work. But putting Giannis in the post, putting Brook in the post, and having movement and passing the ball around and getting touches, driving and kicking, that's worked. That's what's gotten you 2 wins. And if the games were half, you would have had 3 wins. But the games are 2 halves. The games are 48 minutes. You know, like the full 48 minutes that Kevin Durant played? He played a full 48 minutes. How about you try to do the same? Play a full 48 minutes with the same effort that you did in the first half to the second half. And we wouldn't be sitting here talking about the Milwaukee Bucks being on the verge of yet another playoff collapse. Everything is right there for you. And I'm sorry if I sound like I'm talking like things are over, but they kind of are if you look at the statistics. In a series that is tied 2-2, a best-of-7 series that is tied 2-2 in NBA history, teams that have won Game 5 to go up 3-2 have won the series 82.4% of the time. This was effectively the Bucks season on the line. This was effectively the Brooklyn Nets season on the line. And only one of them played like it. And it damn sure wasn't the Milwaukee Bucks. You got Game 6 on Thursday. in Milwaukee back at Fiserv Forum. A Game 7 in Brooklyn is not what the Milwaukee Bucks wanted to see in this series, but in order for you to win this series, you're going to have to. But first, you have to get out of your own damn way and win a Game 6. And with the way they played midway through the third quarter and the entire fourth quarter, I don't have much confidence in that happening. I'm already on the record as saying that the Bucks will lose this series in Game 6 based on what I saw in Games 1 and 2. And now, based on what I've seen in Game 5, midway through the third quarter and the entire fourth quarter, it just reaffirms what I saw in Games 1 and 2. And it reaffirms my prediction. I always want the Bucks to win. But the reality of it is they cost themselves this game. It wasn't so much Durant going out there with a Herculean effort. Because even with his Herculean effort, you were still up 17 points at one point in this game. You were still moving the ball around and playing good offense and good defense the way you had been in Games 3 and 4. And you decided to piss that all away to go ISO ball. Something that has not been advantageous for you against the Nets in this series. It is mind-boggling. It is absolutely mind-boggling. This is why you have the rumors of Mike Budenholzer's seat being a little bit warm. And those, honestly, the truth of it is, after they got bounced in the second round by the Miami Heat in the bubble last season, his seat began to get a little bit warm. Because now that's another playoff failure. 3 strikes and you're out. If they don't find some way to win this series, I am not expecting Mike Budenholzer to be back at all, and it will be his own doing. It will be his own doing. This is why you have rumors of guys like Rick Carlisle having his eyes on the Milwaukee job. Even though Mike Budenholzer hasn't been fired, he's still in the job. But these things tend to get a little bit louder after performances like this. Bucks have to go and find a way to get Game 6. And you're going to hear every cliche in the book. Oh, we got to take it one game at a time. We have to go home and hold home court and find a way to steal one on the road. Well, you had a chance to steal one in Game 1. You had a chance to steal one in Game 5. And you played like garbage. Even though you held leads in both of those games. Sizable leads at that. The Bucks are on the verge of another epic playoff collapse. We'll see what happens in Game 6. They'll either be traveling for a Game 7 to Brooklyn. Or they're going to be going on vacation and seeing that championship window shrink even more. This was damn disappointing. Woosah, breathe. Continuing here on Toss State of the State, let's do a little bit of Green Bay Packers news. It's not really so much news, but it will become news the closer to training camp we get. Both sides, and we're talking the front office and Aaron Rodgers, kind of fired some subtle shots at each other, right? Mark Murphy was speaking to a group, and they had asked him about the situation. And he uses a quote from Ted Thompson on what he will call not just Aaron Rodgers, but other guys on the team. when they get into situations that are a little bit dicey. And maybe that's for lack of a better term, that are a little bit tough, right? And he said basically Ted Thompson called Aaron Rodgers, and he concurs that he's a complicated fella. This is just maybe a week or two after he said the best thing for both sides to do would be to say nothing. Just talk to each other, work through the issues, get back on the field, and try to win a title. And he comes out and he says that, now look, I enjoy when people are forthright and they have a conversation, they're open about it. But what have we been talking about here on Toss? What have we said about your relationship with a superstar? You need to finesse that relationship a little bit more than you would anyone else. This ain't the type of finessing that needs to be done. Why would you invoke a quote of the late Ted Thompson, Packers GM, former Packers GM, and say you would concur with this, that he's a complicated fella? That's Ted Thompson's view of Aaron Rodgers. Ted Thompson is no longer here. Dead men tell no tales. So he can't exactly back up what he said. He can't put context to it. He's gone. So why would you use those words? I can see he's a complex fella. Okay. Yeah, he is a complex. He has a lot of layers. Absolutely. I can agree with that. But complicated? That word alone just fans the flames of all the issues and really just kind of points a big, gigantic arrow at what he had been talking about all along. Aaron Rodgers today was promoting his, quote, The Match golf event with Tom Brady and others. And he was wearing a shirt, a T-shirt. And on that T-shirt, big, bold, white lettered print on a black shirt saying, "I'm offended." Now, most people, you'd just be wearing a shirt, right? But Aaron Rodgers is very cerebral. Everything he says and everything he does is with purpose. You don't believe me? Go back and look at one of his post-game press conferences after the Packers had just blown out the Minnesota Vikings in Minnesota. Most athletes would have water, some body armor, some Gatorade, something. He's at the podium with the grape crush. That's a subtle dig as to what they had just done to the Minnesota Vikings. This man is very cerebral. He's very thoughtful. He's very measured. He didn't just wake up this morning and say, "Oh, I'm going to wear that T-shirt." No, he's doing it for a purpose. Because that's just the type of guy he is. So clearly, he didn't appreciate what Ted Thompson said. Clearly, he doesn't appreciate where the situation stands currently. As I said before, I'm not going to keep ringing this out like some of the local media outlets here are in the great state of Wisconsin are doing. Because right now it's not really a big news story. It will not be a big news story until training camp comes around and he becomes an official holdout. Because I'll be honest, I don't foresee him showing up to training camp on time. I will be shocked if Aaron Rodgers shows up to training camp on time. If at all. I think he's made enough money in his career. He's got enough leverage in his career to where he can dig in his heels and say, and pull Le'Veon Bell just a couple seasons ago and saying, I'm not playing until you give me this brand new contract. And he's got a few weeks into the season to report. Otherwise, he's out for the season. He's a guy who will do that. I 100% see that. I don't think he will retire, but I definitely think he would dig in his heels and not report at all. But again, this is not a big news story until we get to training camp and he becomes a 100% real holdout. But I thought that was a little bit more interesting to see that a guy that's that cerebral, and those comments were just made last week by Ted Thompson, Packers CEO and president. Yeah, it's a subtle dig, subtle shots by both parties still going on. That's not exactly a good sign, but the closer the training camp we get, the bigger this will get. And something just tells me it's going to be absolutely messy. And that's the state of the state. The Bucks on the verge of a collapse, providing more playoff pain in a 114-108 loss to the Brooklyn Nets. The Brooklyn Nets are now up 3-2 in the series. They have a chance to close the Bucks out Thursday night in Milwaukee at Fiserv Forum. And the Packers front office, Mark Murphy, calling Rodgers a complicated fella. Rodgers throwing a shuttle shot back with a T-shirt that says, I'm offended. He's very cerebral. If he has I'm offended on his shirt, you better take it to the bank. That's exactly what he means. Let's run the toss sweep. Toss sweep brought to you by the good fellas over at TossNationMedia.com. Toss Nation Media, your home for the Toss brand of sports. Truthful, opinionated, passionate sports. It's what you deserve. Well, we already know where the Bucks and Nets stand. The Nets lead that series 3-2. Already detailed that playoff pain. But how are the other three series going? Or should I say two? Let's talk some NBA playoff series right now. I say two series because one of those series is over. The Phoenix Suns have swept the Denver Nuggets 4-0. The Phoenix Suns, who went 8-0 in the bubble, and I said right here on this very program that those 8-0 Suns were a precursor to what we were going to see this season. They advanced to the Western Conference Finals, I believe, for the first time since 2010. Chris Paul scoring the most points in a game, period, than he has in 3 years. Devin Booker with another great closeout game for him. Those guys from the Valley are real. Now, because they have swept the Nuggets and Jokic getting ejected in that game, he's going for the ball, but instead he winds his hand up. He winds his arm up. Pretty much slaps Payne in the face, and he calls a lot of pain. Then hits the ball. I thought flagrant 1 for sure, but the officials called a flagrant 2, which is ejection. He's ejected in an elimination game that ended his season, period, because they ended up getting beat that game. Incredibly soft by the NBA, and incredibly ridiculous. This man is the MVP of the league. Imagine them doing that to LeBron or KD or Giannis. I mean, that's just not going to happen. So I thought that was a little bit ridiculous, but the ridiculous play of the Suns, is the time off going to hurt them? That's the biggest thing, because their would-be opponent, either the Clippers or the Jazz, their series is tied to a piece. Games 1 and 2, the Jazz just looked absolutely unstoppable. The Clippers just did not look like they had any sort of answers for them. And now you flip-flop it. Games 3 and 4, Jazz look like they have no answer to stop Kawhi, no answer to stop Paul George. So far, that's been a home court series. Jazz get a chance to take a 3-2 lead, heading back to Utah. I still have faith that Jazz will win that series, and I believe I said they will win that in 7 games. So this whole flip-flop back and forth, if it does stay a home court series and both teams hold court at home, it will go 7, and that series will go to the Jazz. I kind of figured this. So this series is really going the way that I thought it would. That Sun series definitely did not go the way I thought it would. I thought that would go at least 6, but the Suns were trying to get that done and over with. If anything, you get some good rest for Chris Paul in that shoulder. But is that time off going to hurt them? Because, again, this Jazz and Clippers series is going to go at least 6. At least 6. So how much time are they going to have off? Will that hurt their rhythm? They've been playing pretty much every other day, every 2 days. They've been in a really good groove, and sometimes that time off can throw your groove off. Be interesting to see how that affects them. Again, already went ad nauseum about the playoff pain the Bucks have provided everybody everywhere, so we don't need to go over that. Nets lead that series 3-2. They have a chance to close the Bucks out on Thursday night. The other series, Sixers, Hawks, Philly, Atlanta, that's tied to a piece. I said that the Sixers will win this series in 6 games. They are still in line to do that, even with it being tied to a piece. This has really been a back and forth affair, and it's going really the way that I thought it would. But you got some guys that aren't healthy. Trae Young's dealing with the shoulder injury, even though he put up 25 points and 18 assists. He's having a hell of a first playoffs. Joel Embiid has a slight tear in his meniscus, but he's still going out there trying to give it a go. Wasn't all that effective in Game 4. But that's going back and forth. I still have faith that, again, if Joel Embiid is out there, healthy or not, you have a shot. Now, he had an atrocious first half. He came alive a little bit in the second half. If that's how his games are kind of going to go, then you might have to look at it again and I don't know. Can they really pull it off? But you're talking Doc Rivers. He's been through the playoff battles. He's won a championship. He's been to the finals multiple times. I'm 100% sure that he'll figure something out, get those guys to that series win. But so far, my predictions pretty much in tow. I said the Nets would beat the Bucks in 6. They have a chance to do so. I had the Sixers beating the Hawks. They have a chance to do so. That series is tied to a piece. I have the Jazz over the Clippers in 7. They both held home court. There's a chance that could happen. And I have the Suns beating the Nuggets in 6. That didn't happen. They beat them in 4. But so far, so good. 1-0 on the semifinals predictions there. And that'll do it for me, y'all. So it's episode 86 of the Tristain Sports Show. You know where to find me on social media. Follow me at the20double. That's at the number 2, the number 0, and the word double on Instagram and Twitter. Facebook.com/Ton Sports Show. That's TON Sports Show. Facebook page of Toss. We talk about a lot of things there that we don't necessarily get a chance to on the show. Facebook.com/Ton Sports Show. That's TON Sports Show. and TossNationMedia.com, your home for the Toss brand of sports. Truthful, opinionated, passionate sports. It's what you deserve. But, as I said before, it's time for me to get on up out of here. This is T-Squared, Tristan Thomas, reminding all of you to keep it moving forward. Always forward. Forward always. Until next week, so long from Toss.